I destroyed $1 billion company in one afternoon. Wiped it off the map like a grease stain. Want to know what started it? My daughter-in-law tried to put me in a nursing home. I put her in a prison cell instead. It all started with a letter. The mailman handed me a certified envelope. Expensive paper. Sterling Global stamped in gold. Inside, one sheet. A paternity test. Daniel Crawford is excluded as the biological father of Leo Crawford. Clipped to the bottom was a note. Handwritten. Smug as hell. Maggie, thanks for the free childcare. 8 years is a long time. A check for $10,000 is enclosed. Brittany and I will take Leo now. Don't make this ugly. Victor. $10,000. I raised that boy from the day he came home from the hospital. Colic. Ear infections. Nightmares. I was there for all of it. And this man thought he could buy my silence for the price of a used Honda. I called Brittany. Get home. Now. I'm in a meeting. Victor sent me a DNA test. You've got 15 minutes. She made it in 12. Heels on hardwood. Fury in her eyes. She wasn't ashamed. She was annoyed. You opened my mail? It was addressed to me, sweetheart. I held up the letter. And it says my son wasn't Leo's father. She snatched the paper. Read it. Shrugged. Well. Now you know. You don't even have the decency to lie? Why bother? She tossed the letter on the counter. Danny knew I was pregnant when we met. He didn't care. He wanted a family. Victor gave us this house. Victor got Danny his job. Everything your son had came from me and Victor. I stepped closer. Everything my son had was a cheating wife and a child that wasn't his. She laughed. Actually laughed. Maggie, sweetie, you're so dramatic. I gave Danny a life he never could have had on a construction worker's salary. And now he's dead. Time moves on. You should too. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, yes you are. She pulled a brochure from her purse. Golden Meadows Assisted Living. I've already made arrangements. They're expecting you tomorrow. Pack light. You're putting me in a home. I'm giving you a retirement plan. Be grateful. Most women your age don't have a rich daughter-in-law to pay their way. She smiled, and I finally saw the real Brittany underneath all those years of fake hugs and insincere compliments. Don't fight this, Maggie. If you fight, I'll make it worse. I can be very creative when I need to be. Child endangerment claims. Elder abuse reports. You really want Leo remembering his grandma as the woman who hurt him? My blood went cold. She was threatening to lie about me abusing my own grandson. You wouldn't. Try me. She picked up her purse. The van comes at 9 tomorrow morning. I suggest you be ready. She walked out. The door clicked shut. And I stood there in the kitchen where I'd made Leo 1,000 peanut butter sandwiches, staring at a brochure for a place that smelled like bleach and forgotten people. Then I remembered the lockbox. My husband Earl gave it to me the week before he died. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. Fast and merciless. Don't open it unless you're in real trouble, he said. The kind of trouble you can't fight with just your mouth. Well, Earl, I whispered to his ghost, my mouth isn't going to be enough this time. I went to the bedroom. Moved the loose floorboard under the closet. There it was. Rusted metal, heavy as a promise. The key was still on my chain. I opened it. Inside was a letter and a stack of documents. The letter was in Earl's handwriting. Shaky. Written near the end. Maggie, if you're reading this, someone's pushed you too far. I'm sorry I'm not there. But I left you a weapon. Crawford Holdings. It's a shell company I built in the 80s. Never told you about it because the less you knew, the safer you were. Here's the part that matters. Crawford Holdings is the largest anonymous investor in Sterling Global. Victor Sterling doesn't know it. Nobody does. Without our money, his company collapses in 90 days. You own it all. Call Frank Moretti. Numbers on the back. He's a lawyer. He's been waiting for your call for 15 years. Burn them, Maggie. Burn them to the ground. Earl. I turned the paper over. A phone number. Area code I didn't recognize. I dialed. A man answered on the second ring. Deep voice. No nonsense. This is Frank. Mr. Moretti, my name is Maggie Crawford. My husband Earl. I know who you are, Mrs. Crawford. His voice softened, just a fraction. Earl told me you'd call one day. What's the situation? My daughter-in-law is trying to lock me in a nursing home and steal my grandson. Her boyfriend is Victor Sterling. And I just found out my son wasn't my grandson's father. A pause. Give me 2 hours. I'll have everything I need. Everything like what? Everything we need to make Victor Sterling wish he'd never heard the name Crawford. I'll call you back. The line went dead. I sat on the edge of my bed, clutching that letter, and for the first time since the mailman rang my doorbell, I smiled. 2 hours passed. Frank called back. I've got Sterling's tax records for the last decade. Offshores. Shell companies. Bribes to city officials. But the big one? 12 years ago, a building fire killed a security guard. It was arson. Insurance job. Sterling ordered it. I've got the paper trail. You've got proof? I've got proof that would put him under the prison for the rest of his natural life. But we need to move carefully. If he knows we're coming, he'll destroy evidence and disappear. He won't see me coming. Good. Now, about the nursing home. Let them come. Maggie, that's not. Frank, let them come. I want Brittany to think she's one. I want her arrogant and careless. Then I want you to pick me up after I walk out of that hellhole on my own 2 feet. He chuckled. A dry, rusty sound. Earl said you were a spitfire. Earl said a lot of things. Let's get to work. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark living room, surrounded by 8 years of memories. Leo's crayon drawing still taped to the fridge. Danny's work boots in the hall closet. I hadn't moved them since the funeral. Couldn't bear to. Around midnight, Brittany came home. She froze when she saw me sitting there. Still here? This was my home long before it was yours. It was never yours. She poured herself a glass of wine. Everything in this house belongs to Victor. Including the sheets on your bed. Is that supposed to hurt me? I honestly don't care if it does or doesn't. She sipped her wine. You know what your problem is, Maggie? You think love matters. You think all those years of babysitting and cooking dinner and folding laundry earned you something. But the world doesn't work that way. Money talks. Loyalty is a fairy tale. You really believe that? I know that. She set down her glass. Danny believed in loyalty. And look where it got him. Dead at 34 under a pile of steel. If he'd been smarter, he would have asked for a paternity test 8 years ago. But he was too trusting. Just like you. I stood up slowly. You're going to regret every word you just said. I doubt it. She headed for the stairs. 9 o'clock, Maggie. The van won't wait. She went upstairs. I heard her bedroom door close. And I made a silent promise to my dead son. She's going to pay, Danny. For everything. The van came at 9 the next morning. 2 bored-looking attendants and a white vehicle that smelled like stale cigarettes. Brittany stood on the front porch, sipping a latte, watching me climb in. Don't worry, Maggie. Leo will be fine. I'll tell him you went on a long vacation. Make sure you tell him the truth someday. She smirked. Which truth is that? That his grandmother loved him more than anyone else in this world. And that his mother is a snake. The smile vanished. She slammed the van door. The driver pulled away, and I watched my house disappear in the side mirror. Golden Meadows was exactly what I expected. Gray walls. Fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry insects. The smell of boiled vegetables and urine. The director met me at the front desk. A woman named Carol with a tight bun and a tighter smile. Mrs. Crawford, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Spare me. I know what this place is. I know Brittany's paying you to keep me quiet. Her smile didn't flicker. I don't know what you mean. I mean the unlocked doors are a lie, the activities calendar hasn't been updated since 2019, and you've got 3 state violations for improper sedation of residents. Want me to keep going? Carol's face went pale. How did you? My lawyer sent me your inspection reports. Want me to read them out loud? Here in the lobby? In front of all these nice families? You can't. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to walk out that door. You're not going to stop me. You're going to tell Brittany I'm too much trouble, and you're going to pray I don't report this place to the state. Understand? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Nodded. I walked out of Golden Meadows 23 minutes after I arrived. Frank was waiting in a black sedan, engine running. He was older than I expected. Silver hair. Quiet eyes that had seen too much. He held the door open. Mrs. Crawford. Pleasant stay? I've had worse hotel experiences. I slid into the seat. Now. Let's go ruin a billionaire. Frank drove me to a coffee shop across town. A booth in the back. No cameras. He laid out a folder 3 inches thick. This is everything. Bank records. Emails. The arson case files. I've also got evidence that Brittany helped him launder money through fake consulting fees. My daughter-in-law is a criminal too? Shocking. Here's the play. Frank tapped a document. You own 63% of the investment capital that props up Sterling Global. When you pull it, the company defaults on its loans within a week. Stocks tank. Creditors panic. The board will have no choice but to remove Victor as CEO. Meanwhile, I leak the criminal evidence to the FBI and the press simultaneously. Nobody can bury it. I want to be there when it happens. That's dangerous. I'm 63 years old. I buried a husband and a son. I'm not afraid of danger. Frank studied me for a moment. You remind me of Earl. He had the same look in his eyes when someone crossed him. What happened to the people who crossed him? They're not around anymore. Frank smiled faintly. One of them is in a federal prison in Arizona. Another fled to a country with no extradition treaty. Earl didn't just win. He erased people. Good. Then let's honor his memory. One more thing. Frank pulled out another document. There's another player we can use. Victor's wife. Veronica Sterling. She's been gathering evidence against him for years. Divorce leverage. But she's been waiting for the right moment. If we share our intel with her, she could move against him from the inside. Boardroom coup. Simultaneous with our financial strike. You trust her? I trust her hatred of her husband. 20 years of affairs. Humiliation. She wants him destroyed as badly as you do. Set up a meeting. Veronica Sterling was not what I expected. I thought she'd be cold. Polished. Plastic. Instead, she was tired. Elegantly tired. A woman who'd spent 2 decades married to a monster and was ready to be free. We met at a quiet restaurant outside the city. She wore minimal makeup and a simple black dress. No jewelry except a thin gold wedding band she kept twisting around her finger. Mrs. Crawford. She shook my hand firmly. Frank told me what Brittany did. I'm sorry. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here to destroy your husband. Are you in or out? She smiled. It was sharp. I've been waiting for someone like you for 10 years. I'm in. Fully. What do you need? Boardroom access. Internal records. And timing. When I pull the financial plug, I need you to call an emergency board meeting and move to oust him simultaneously. Can you do that? I can do better. I can make sure the FBI arrests him in the middle of that board meeting. In front of everyone. Cameras. Reporters. The whole world watching. I liked this woman immediately. You've thought about this. Every single day for a decade. She raised her glass. To new friends. To payback. We clinked glasses. The board meeting will be Thursday morning, Veronica said. 9 a.m. I'll have the FBI briefed and waiting. All I need is your signal. You'll get it. Over the next 2 days, I barely slept. Frank handled the financial paperwork. I signed documents until my wrist ached. Each signature felt like loading a bullet into a gun. Brittany called 6 times. Each voicemail nastier than the last. Maggie, where are you? Carol said you left. This isn't over. You can't hide forever, you crazy old woman. I'm filing for custody. You'll never see Leo again. That last one made me call Frank. She's threatening custody. Let her file. By the time it hits a judge's desk, she'll be in handcuffs. We have her on money laundering, conspiracy, and fraud. She's going away for a long time, Maggie. Make sure of it. Already done. Wednesday night. The night before D-Day. I asked Frank to drive me to Leo's school. I knew I wouldn't get to see him up close, but I couldn't go into battle without at least seeing his face. We pulled up outside the school gymnasium. Through the big windows, I could see kids running around for some kind of after-school program. And there he was. Leo. My boy. Laughing, chasing a basketball, his hair flopping in his eyes the way Danny's used to. I pressed my hand against the car window. Soon, baby, I whispered. Grandma's coming. Frank didn't say anything. He just sat there, letting me have my moment. When I finally nodded, he put the car in gear and drove me back to the hotel. Get some sleep, he said. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. I'll sleep when Victor Sterling is in handcuffs. Thursday morning. 9 a.m. I sat in Frank's office, a cup of black coffee growing cold in front of me. A speakerphone connected us to the Sterling Global boardroom. Veronica's phone, hidden in her blazer pocket. Everyone's present, she said quietly. Victor just sat down. He's gloating about some new development deal. He has no idea what's coming. Hit it, I said. Frank pressed a button on his keyboard. Funds withdrawn. All of them. Sterling Global now has approximately 48 hours before it defaults on its primary loans. The boardroom audio crackled. Someone was speaking. Victor, we just got a notice from the bank. Our primary investor has pulled out. Completely. That's impossible. The numbers are right here. We're hemorrhaging. If we don't find replacement capital by Monday, we're looking at bankruptcy. Who is the investor? Find out who pulled the money and I'll crush them. Veronica's voice cut through the chaos. I move we immediately remove Victor Sterling as CEO and appoint an interim replacement while we investigate this crisis. Seconded. You can't do this. Victor's voice rose to a roar. I built this company. I am this company. You built it on fraud and murder, Veronica said calmly. And the FBI is in the lobby. Gentlemen, shall we let them in? The boardroom erupted. Chairs scraping. shouting. Then a new voice, deep and official. Victor Sterling, you are under arrest for arson, insurance fraud, bribery, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent. I heard him curse. I heard him struggle. I heard the unmistakable click of handcuffs. Then Veronica picked up the phone. It's done. They're taking him out the back entrance. Reporters everywhere. He's finished, Maggie. Thank you, Veronica. No. Thank you. I've waited 20 years for this. Frank hung up the speakerphone and looked at me. One down. One to go. Brittany? She's at a spa downtown. Facial, I believe. The FBI should be arriving any minute. I leaned back in my chair and allowed myself a small smile. I hope they let her rinse off the mask first. Wouldn't want her mugshot to have clogged pores. Frank laughed. A genuine, full-bodied laugh. Maggie Crawford, you are something else. Earl always said so. An hour later, Frank's phone buzzed with a message. He read it and slid the phone across the desk to me. It was a photo. Brittany in handcuffs. Green facial mask still smeared across her cheeks. 2 FBI agents on either side. Her expression was somewhere between fury and disbelief. I looked at that photo for a long time. This one's going in the scrapbook, I said. There's more good news. Child Protective Services has Leo. They're holding him at a temporary facility until we can get a judge to sign the custody order. How long? Veronica's working on it. She's got connections in family court. Could be as soon as tonight. I want to pick him up myself. I figured you would. Frank stood and grabbed his jacket. Let's go get your grandson. The courthouse was quiet. Late afternoon light streamed through tall windows. Veronica met us in the hallway, a stack of signed papers in her hand. Emergency custody granted. You're officially Leo's legal guardian, Maggie. Full rights. Brittany can't come within 500 feet of either of you. I took the papers. My hands were steady, but my heart was racing. How did you get it done so fast? I reminded the judge that Sterling Global is the largest employer in this county and I'm now the acting CEO. Judges listen when jobs are on the line. She smiled. Also, the evidence against Brittany was overwhelming. Money laundering alone was enough to terminate her parental rights. I hugged her. I'm not a hugger by nature, but I hugged her. She stiffened for a second, then hugged me back. Go get your boy, she said. Frank drove me to the CPS facility. A tired social worker led me to a small playroom. And there he was. Leo. Sitting on a beanbag chair, clutching a stuffed dinosaur, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. He looked up. Saw me. And his face crumpled. Grandma. He flew across the room and slammed into me so hard I stumbled backward. His arms wrapped around my waist. I could feel his heartbeat hammering against my ribs. I knew you'd come back. I knew it. The lady said Mom got arrested. She said I had to wait here. I was so scared. I'm here now, sweetheart. I knelt and cupped his face in my hands. I'm here, and I'm never leaving you again. Never? Never ever. Cross my heart. He buried his face in my shoulder and sobbed. I held him and let him cry. Behind me, Frank quietly stepped out of the room and closed the door. After a while, Leo pulled back and wiped his nose on his sleeve. Grandma, is Mom a bad guy now? I chose my words carefully. Your mom made some very bad choices. And when grown-ups make bad choices, they have to face the consequences. But that has nothing to do with you. You're a good boy. The best boy. And none of this is your fault. She said you went away forever. She was wrong. She lies a lot, doesn't she? I couldn't help it. I laughed. She certainly does, kiddo. Leo giggled through his tears. You said kiddo. You only say kiddo when you're happy. I am happy. You know why? Why? Because from now on, it's just you and me. No more lies. No more secrets. Just Grandma and Leo against the world. He thought about that for a second. Then he grinned. Can we get pizza? We can get all the pizza you want. With pepperoni? With extra pepperoni. He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the door. Come on, Grandma. Let's go home. Home. I hadn't had a real home in a long time. But standing there, holding my grandson's sticky little hand, I realized something important. Home wasn't a house. Home was this boy. And I'd just won him back. Frank was waiting in the parking lot. He smiled when he saw us walking out together. Where to, boss? Pizza place first. Then the hotel. We've got some celebrating to do. I'll drive. We climbed into the car. Leo sat in the back, chattering about dinosaurs and recess and how his friend Mikey lost a tooth at lunch. Normal kid stuff. Beautiful, normal kid stuff. I caught Frank's eye in the rearview mirror. Not bad for a Wednesday, I said. He chuckled. Wait till you see what I've got planned for Thursday. There's more? There's always more. The trial's going to be a circus. The press is already digging into Victor's history. And Veronica wants to offer you a seat on the new company's board. A seat on the board? I don't know anything about running a corporation. You know how to spot a snake. That's more valuable than an MBA. Leo leaned forward from the back seat. Grandma, what's a snake? Your mother's boss, I muttered. I thought he was a billionaire. Same thing, sweetheart. Same thing. That night, after pizza and 2 rounds of Go Fish and a bedtime story that Leo insisted I read 3 times, I sat alone in the hotel room. Leo was asleep on the pull-out couch, clutching his dinosaur, breathing slow and peaceful. I called Frank. What's the latest? Victor's lawyers are already filing appeals. They're arguing entrapment, illegal search, the whole playbook. But the arson evidence is airtight. He's not getting out. And Brittany? Pleading not guilty. For now. Her lawyer's trying to cut a deal, but the prosecutor isn't interested. Too much public pressure. The Sterling scandal is national news. Good. There's something else. Frank paused. Brittany wants to talk to you. I have nothing to say to her. She's claiming she has information about Danny's accident. My blood went cold. What kind of information? She says the construction company that employed him was a Sterling subsidiary. And she says Victor knew about the safety violations before the crane collapsed. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. Are you telling me my son's death wasn't an accident? I'm telling you Brittany is making claims. Whether they're true or not, I don't know yet. But I'm going to find out. Find out fast. If Victor Sterling got my son killed, I want to know before his trial starts. I'm on it. Get some sleep, Maggie. I'll sleep when he's buried. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. Outside, the city hummed with traffic and sirens and a million people living their lives. Inside this room, everything had shifted. I'd come here for revenge. But if Frank was right, this was bigger than revenge. This was justice. I looked over at Leo, sleeping peacefully under his dinosaur blanket. 8 years old. No father. A mother in jail. And yet somehow, still smiling. You're going to be okay, I whispered to him. Grandma's going to make sure of it. Every last person who hurt this family is going to pay. I turned off the lamp and sat in the dark, waiting for Frank's call. The game wasn't over yet. It was just getting started. Frank called back at 2 in the morning. I was still awake, staring at the ceiling, Leo's soft breathing the only sound in the dark hotel room. I found something, Frank said. No greeting. No preamble. Danny's accident. The crane that collapsed. It was inspected 3 days before the job. The inspector signed off on it. And? The inspector was paid $50,000. Deposited into an offshore account 2 days before the inspection. I sat up slowly. Who paid him? A shell company called Helix Consulting. Want to guess who owns Helix Consulting? Victor Sterling. Bingo. But it gets worse. We found internal emails. Victor knew the crane was compromised. He was told by his own engineers that it needed to be taken out of service. He overruled them. Said the project was behind schedule and couldn't afford any more delays. My hands were shaking. Not from grief. From rage. Cold, pure rage. You're telling me my son was murdered. I'm telling you Victor Sterling made a calculated decision that he knew could result in fatalities, and he made it anyway to protect his bottom line. Legally? That's depraved indifference murder. The DA will absolutely prosecute. Is this admissible? The emails are. The bribe to the inspector is. We've got bank records, witness statements, everything. I already sent the file to the prosecutor handling Victor's arson case. She called me back at midnight. She's adding 3 counts of negligent homicide to the indictment. 3 counts? Danny wasn't the only one who died that day, Maggie. 2 other workers were on the scaffolding when the crane came down. I closed my eyes. 3 families. 3 dead men. All because Victor Sterling wanted to save a few bucks on a crane repair. I want to look him in the eyes when they read those charges. You'll get your chance. The arraignment is Friday. They're adding the new counts then. Friday couldn't come fast enough. The next morning, I woke Leo up with pancakes. Room service. Extra syrup. He was thrilled. Grandma, are we rich now? Not exactly, sweetheart. Then why are we eating pancakes in a hotel? Because sometimes you need pancakes in a hotel to remind yourself that life can still be good. He thought about that while chewing. That makes sense. Can I have more bacon? Eat your weight in bacon. I don't care. He grinned. Best day ever. I wished I could bottle that grin. That pure, uncomplicated joy. He had no idea what was happening outside this hotel room. The news channels were running Sterling coverage 24 hours a day. Victor's mugshot was everywhere. Brittany's green face mask arrest photo had gone viral. Late-night comedians were having a field day. But Leo didn't need to know any of that. Not yet. Let him have one more morning of pancakes and cartoons before the world came crashing in. Veronica called while Leo was watching TV. How's the boy? Eating his body weight in bacon. He's resilient. Kids are. It's one of their few advantages. She paused. Maggie, I need to warn you about something. The board is panicking. Now that Crawford Holdings pulled out and the criminal charges are public, our stock has dropped 70% in 2 days. We're looking at bankruptcy by Monday unless I can find new investors. Is there anything I can do? Actually, yes. I have a proposal. What if Crawford Holdings reinvests? Not as a silent partner this time. As the majority shareholder. You'd effectively own the company. I nearly dropped the phone. Veronica, I'm a retired nurse from Ohio. I don't know the first thing about running a billion-dollar corporation. You don't have to. I'll run it. You just need to be the owner. The face. The moral authority. We rebrand. New name. New mission. We come out of this scandal as the company that cleaned house and put ethics first. The public would eat it up. You've really thought this through. I've been thinking about it for years. I just never had the power to execute until you walked into my life with that lockbox. I looked over at Leo, who was laughing at something on the cartoon channel. Let me think about it. Take your time. But not too much. Monday's the deadline. She hung up. I stared at my phone. A week ago, I was a grandmother with a dead son and a house that wasn't mine. Now I was being offered a corporation. Earl, you son of a gun. What exactly did you leave me? Friday morning. The arraignment. I left Leo with a babysitter Veronica had personally vetted. Former Secret Service. Retired. Now working private security. Leo thought she was just a nice lady who brought coloring books. He had no idea she could kill a man with her thumb. The courthouse was a zoo. Reporters everywhere. Protesters with signs demanding justice for the construction workers. I spotted the families of the other two men who died with Danny. A young widow with a toddler on her hip. An elderly couple who'd lost their only son. I made a mental note to find them after this was over. Frank met me at the entrance. You ready? Born ready. The courtroom was packed. Veronica sat in the front row, looking serene in a navy dress. She nodded at me as I took my seat beside her. Any surprises I should know about? I asked. His lawyers tried to get the new charges dismissed. Judge denied it. He's furious. Good. The side door opened. Two bailiffs led Victor Sterling into the courtroom. He looked terrible. The prison jumpsuit did him no favors. His hair was uncombed. His eyes had dark circles. But the arrogance was still there. Even in handcuffs, he walked like he owned the place. He scanned the gallery. When his eyes landed on me, they narrowed. He didn't know who I was. Not yet. I was just some old woman in the crowd. That was about to change. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The clerk read the case number. Mr. Sterling, you have been charged with multiple counts including arson, insurance fraud, bribery, and 3 counts of depraved indifference homicide. How do you plead? Victor's lawyer stood. My client pleads not guilty to all charges, Your Honor. The prosecutor rose. Your Honor, the people request remand without bail. Mr. Sterling has access to significant offshore resources and presents an extreme flight risk. Your Honor, my client is a respected businessman. Your Honor, the prosecutor cut in, we have bank records showing Mr. Sterling has transferred over $80 million to accounts in the Cayman Islands in the past month alone. He was preparing to flee before his arrest. The judge looked at Victor. Is this true? I have business interests overseas, Your Honor. It's perfectly legal. $80 million worth of business interests? I'm a wealthy man. Wealthy men have complex finances. The judge didn't smile. Bail denied. Defendant is remanded to federal custody pending trial. Victor's lawyer tried to argue. The judge banged his gavel. The bailiffs grabbed Victor's arms. That's when he saw me again. And this time, he leaned toward his lawyer and whispered something. The lawyer looked at me. Then back at Victor. Then he nodded. Victor Sterling finally knew who I was. I smiled at him. Not a nice smile. The kind of smile a cat gives a mouse right before it pounces. His face went pale. Then red. Then he was being dragged out, shouting something I couldn't hear over the courtroom noise. What did he say? Veronica whispered. Doesn't matter, I said. Dead men don't get last words. Outside the courthouse, the press swarmed us. Frank tried to shield me, but I pushed past him. Maggie, what are you doing? Giving them what they want. I walked up to the microphone stand someone had set up on the courthouse steps. The reporters went silent. Dozens of cameras pointed at my face. My name is Maggie Crawford, I said. My son Daniel Crawford was killed when a crane collapsed on a Sterling Global construction site. For a year, I believed it was an accident. Yesterday, I learned the truth. Victor Sterling knew that crane was dangerous. His own engineers told him to take it out of service. He overruled them because he didn't want to delay his project. My son is dead because a billionaire wanted to save a few dollars. I paused. The crowd was dead silent. I'm 63 years old. I buried my husband. I buried my only child. But I am still standing. And I will be standing in this courthouse every single day until Victor Sterling is convicted and sent to prison for the rest of his natural life. I want him to see my face every morning and remember why he's there. I stepped back from the microphone. For a moment, nothing happened. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Then the whole crowd was cheering. I walked back to Frank, who was shaking his head but smiling. You just can't help yourself, can you? Nope. That night, after Leo was asleep, I sat down and made a list. A list of every person Victor Sterling had hurt. The security guard who died in the arson fire. The workers killed in the crane collapse. The families who'd lost their homes in Sterling developments that went belly up. The investors who'd been defrauded. The business owners crushed by his monopolistic practices. It was a long list. Depressingly long. I called Frank. I want to do something with the money. Define something. I want to start a foundation. Use the Crawford Holdings profits to help people Victor hurt. College funds for the kids who lost parents. Medical bills for the injured workers. Legal aid for families fighting corrupt developers. All of it. I can set that up. What do you want to call it? I thought about it. The Danny Crawford Justice Foundation. That's perfect. And I want the Sterling Company rebranded. Completely. New name. New leadership. Veronica runs it, but the foundation owns the majority stake. Any profits go to helping people. Not lining pockets. You realize you're giving away billions of dollars. I've got a hotel room, a grandson, and all the bacon we can eat. What else do I need? Frank laughed. Earl would be so proud of you. I know. I can feel him watching. The trial started 3 months later. The prosecution had built an airtight case. Bank records, emails, witness testimony, the arson evidence, the crane inspection bribe. They called 47 witnesses. I was one of them. I'd never testified in court before. The prosecutor prepped me for 2 days. Keep your answers short. Don't let him rattle you. And whatever you do, don't lose your temper on the stand. I don't lose my temper. I use it. She smiled. I've heard that about you. The day I testified, the courtroom was standing room only. Leo wasn't there. I'd made sure of that. Some things a child shouldn't have to see. I took the stand. Swore the oath. The prosecutor asked me simple questions. Who was my son? How did he die? What did I learn about Victor's involvement? I answered each question clearly and calmly. The jury watched me intently. Several of them had tears in their eyes. Then Victor's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. Mrs. Crawford, isn't it true that you've been waging a personal vendetta against my client for months? I've been seeking justice for my murdered son. If that's a vendetta, then yes. You've profited from this, haven't you? You now control the company my client built. The company your client built with my dead husband's money? That company? The lawyer blinked. Objection, relevance. Overruled, the judge said. The witness may answer. Your client didn't build anything on his own. My husband Earl Crawford was the anonymous investor who funded Sterling Global from the beginning. Without our money, your client would still be a small-time developer with bad hair and worse morals. A ripple of laughter went through the gallery. The judge banged his gavel. Mrs. Crawford, please refrain from commentary on the defendant's appearance. My apologies, Your Honor. The lawyer tried to regain control. Mrs. Crawford, you've made quite a spectacle of yourself in the media. Some might say you're enjoying this attention. Some might say your client enjoyed watching my son's body get pulled from a construction site while he counted his insurance money. We all have hobbies. The lawyer's face went red. Objection. Sustained. Mrs. Crawford, I warned you. I apologize, Your Honor. I'll keep my answers strictly factual. The lawyer clearly wanted to continue, but he also clearly realized he was losing badly. He glanced at Victor, who was glaring at him from the defense table. Then he sighed. No further questions. I stepped down from the stand. As I walked past the defense table, I glanced at Victor. He was staring straight ahead, jaw clenched, refusing to look at me. Coward, I whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. His jaw twitched. That was all. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. That's it. 6 hours. For a case with 47 witnesses and 300 exhibits, that was practically instant. The verdict came back on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the courtroom. So was Veronica. So were the families of the dead workers. The foreman stood. The clerk read the charges. On the charge of arson, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of insurance fraud, how do you find? Guilty. On 3 counts of depraved indifference homicide, how do you find? Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. The families were crying, hugging each other. Veronica squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. I just sat there, staring at Victor, watching the color drain from his face as each verdict was read. Guilty on all counts. Every single one. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. The judge wasn't messing around. She gave him 3 consecutive life sentences plus an additional 40 years for the financial crimes. No possibility of parole. Victor Sterling would die in a federal prison. When the sentence was read, he finally looked at me. His eyes were dead. Empty. The arrogance was gone. All that was left was a broken man in an orange jumpsuit who had finally realized the party was over. I held his gaze for a long moment. Then I smiled. The same cat-and-mouse smile I'd given him at the arraignment. His face contorted with rage. He lunged from his chair, shouting something incoherent. The bailiffs tackled him before he got 2 steps. They dragged him out of the courtroom while he screamed profanities at me, at Veronica, at the world. The judge banged her gavel. Court is adjourned. And just like that, it was over. Outside the courthouse, the press was waiting. This time, I didn't stop to make a speech. I let the lawyers handle it. I walked past the cameras with my head high, Frank on one side and Veronica on the other. Where to? Frank asked. The school. I need to pick up my grandson. I arrived just as the final bell rang. Leo came running out the front door, backpack bouncing, lunchbox swinging. He spotted me and waved frantically. Grandma. You're here. I'm here, sweetheart. Did you win? At the courthouse? The bad guy is going to jail? The bad guy is going to jail for a very, very long time. Leo thought about that. Then he pumped his fist. Yes. I told everyone at school my grandma is a superhero. I'm not a superhero, Leo. I'm just a grandma who doesn't give up. That's the same thing. I laughed and ruffled his hair. Come on, kiddo. Let's go home. Can we get ice cream first? It's 3 in the afternoon. So? Ice cream doesn't care what time it is. He had a point. Earl used to say the same thing. Ice cream it is, I said. Extra sprinkles. Extra sprinkles. He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the car. Best day ever. I looked up at the sky. It was clear and blue and stretched on forever. Somewhere up there, Danny was watching. Earl too. I could feel them both, standing on either side of me, proud as could be. We did it, boys. We got the bastards. Brittany's trial was shorter. She took a plea deal. 12 years, reduced from 18 because she agreed to testify against several of Victor's associates. The prosecutor wasn't thrilled about the deal, but she needed Brittany's testimony to build cases against the other co-conspirators. I attended her sentencing. Sat in the back row. She didn't see me until the bailiffs were leading her out. Our eyes met. She stopped walking. Maggie. Brittany. Tell Leo I'm sorry. I'll tell him you're in prison and he's safe. That's enough. Her face crumpled. I did love him. I know you don't believe that, but I did. You loved yourself more. She had no answer to that. The bailiffs tugged her arms and she shuffled away, disappearing through the same side door Victor had vanished through months earlier. I sat in the empty courtroom for a long time after that. Thinking about everything. The years of lies. The 8 years of raising Leo, believing he was Danny's blood. The betrayal. The fight. The victory. Was it worth it? Losing a daughter-in-law to prison? Watching Leo ask questions about his mother that I couldn't answer? Yes. It was worth it. Because Leo was safe. He was loved. He was with me. And that was all that mattered. That night, I made Leo's favorite dinner. Spaghetti and meatballs. Extra garlic bread. We ate at the small kitchen table in our new apartment, the one I'd rented after selling the house. It was smaller than the old place. Cozier. No bad memories lurking in the corners. Grandma, Leo said, twirling spaghetti around his fork. What happens now? Now? Now we live our lives. You go to school. I take care of you. We eat too much ice cream and stay up past our bedtime sometimes. Are you going to be a big business lady? That's what the kids at school say. I'm going to help run a foundation that helps people who got hurt by the bad guys. Does that sound okay? He nodded vigorously. That sounds awesome. Can I help? When you're older, sure. I want to help now. I can do stuff. I'm almost 9. You're already helping. You know how? How? Every time you smile, you remind me why I fought so hard. That's the best help there is. He blushed and shoved a meatball in his mouth. Grandma, that's so cheesy. I'm a grandma. Cheese is part of the job description. Later that night, after Leo was in bed and the apartment was quiet, I poured myself a cup of tea and sat by the window. Frank had emailed me the final paperwork for the foundation. The Danny Crawford Justice Foundation. Officially registered. Ready to start operations next month. Veronica had already identified the first 10 families we'd be helping. I thought about Danny as a little boy. How he used to crawl into my lap with a skinned knee and say, "Kiss it better, Mommy." How he'd believed me when I said a kiss could fix anything. How he'd grown into a man who trusted too easily and loved too hard and died too young. I miss you, baby, I whispered to the empty room. Every day. But the grief didn't crush me anymore. It was still there, a permanent ache behind my ribs. But it had company now. Hope. Purpose. The fierce joy of watching Leo grow. I finished my tea and went to bed. Tomorrow was another day. And for the first time in a long time, I was looking forward to it. 6 months after the trial, I woke up to the smell of burned toast and the sound of my grandson laughing. Not a bad way to start a Tuesday. Grandma. I made breakfast. I shuffled into the kitchen. Leo stood at the counter, covered in flour, holding a plate of something that looked vaguely like pancakes. If you squinted. What's the black stuff? Chocolate chips. I think. You think? They caught on fire a little bit. I picked up one of the pancakes. It was hard as a hockey puck. Leo, I think we just invented a new building material. He giggled. I tried my best. That's all that matters, kiddo. I tossed the pancake in the trash and grabbed a cereal box. How about we start with something simpler? Like Cheerios. Okay. But one day I'm gonna make you a real breakfast. I believe you. He poured cereal into 2 bowls while I made coffee. This was our new routine. Small kitchen. Bad cooking attempts. Lots of laughter. It was nothing like the old house with its granite countertops and professional-grade appliances. That kitchen was designed for show. This one was designed for living. The foundation had been running for 3 months now. We'd already helped 14 families. College funds for the children of the construction workers who died with Danny. Medical bills for a security guard injured in a Sterling building collapse. Legal aid for 5 elderly couples who'd been cheated out of their homes by Sterling's predatory real estate practices. Every case hit me in a different place. The widow with the toddler, the one I'd seen at the arraignment, sent me a letter last week. Handwritten. 3 pages. Dear Mrs. Crawford, I don't know how to thank you. The college fund you set up for my daughter means she'll have opportunities her father never did. Every night I tell her about the grandmother who fought for us. She calls you the superhero lady. I hope that's okay. With all my gratitude, Maria Vasquez. I read that letter 4 times. Cried every time. Frank stopped by that morning with a thick folder. New cases for your review. Already? We just finished the last batch. Word is getting out. The Danny Crawford Justice Foundation is becoming a big deal. I've got 3 TV producers who want to interview you, 2 documentary filmmakers, and a publisher asking if you'd write a book. A book? About what? Frank gave me a look. Maggie. You brought down a billionaire, freed your grandson, and built a foundation that's changing lives. That's a book. I don't have time to write a book. I've got pancakes to burn. Leo looked up from his cereal. I can help write it. I'm good at stories. See? Frank said. You've already got a co-author. I shook my head, but I was smiling. Fine. Tell the publisher I'll think about it. But no interviews. I'm done being on camera. Understood. Frank set the folder on the counter. One more thing. Veronica wants to see you. She says it's important. Veronica and I met at our usual spot, a quiet cafe halfway between her office and my apartment. She looked different now. Lighter. The tension that had lived in her shoulders for 20 years was gone. She'd cut her hair short and stopped wearing dark colors. Today she was in a yellow blouse that made her look 10 years younger. You're glowing, I said. I'm happy. It's a strange feeling. She stirred her coffee. I wanted to tell you in person. I'm getting remarried. To the history professor? How did you know? Lucky guess. He seemed like a good man when I met him at the foundation launch. He is. He's kind. Patient. Loyal. All the things Victor wasn't. She paused. I spent 20 years married to a monster, Maggie. I never thought I'd trust anyone again. But David is different. He makes me feel safe. That's wonderful, Veronica. Genuinely. There's more. David got a job offer from a university in Boston. A full professorship. He starts in September. I'm moving with him. What about the company? She leaned forward. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm stepping down as CEO. I've done what I needed to do. The company is cleaned up, rebranded, profitable. But it needs a new leader. Someone with the same values we built it on. You're not suggesting. I'm suggesting you take over. Full-time. Chairwoman of the board, at minimum. I laughed out loud. Veronica, I'm a retired nurse. I don't know anything about running a corporation. You knew enough to destroy one. That's a better education than any MBA. She reached across the table and took my hand. Listen to me. When you walked into that courtroom 6 months ago and told the world the truth about Victor, you became something. A symbol. People trust you. They believe in you. That's more valuable than any business degree. I have Leo to raise. Bring him to board meetings. Let him see his grandmother running the show. What better education could a kid get? I sat back and thought about it. Leo. The foundation. The company. It was a lot. But then again, what was a lot compared to what I'd already survived? I'll think about it. Don't think too long. The board votes next month. That night, after Leo was in bed, I dug through my closet until I found Earl's old lockbox. The rusted metal. The documents I'd already removed. But there was something else in there. Something I'd noticed the first time I opened it and hadn't touched since. A letter. Addressed to me. In Earl's handwriting. Dated 2 weeks before he died. I hadn't read it yet. I wasn't ready. I'd been too angry, too focused on revenge, too scared of what it might say. Tonight, I was ready. I sat on my bed, opened the envelope, and read. My dearest Maggie. If you're reading this, you've done what I knew you would. You fought back. You won. I never doubted you for a second. I'm sorry I kept secrets from you. I told myself it was to protect you, and maybe that was partly true. But I think the real reason was shame. I came from nothing. I built something big, and I didn't know how to tell you that the man you married was playing a different game than you thought. I was afraid you'd look at me differently. So I hid it. That was wrong. I'm sorry. But here's the thing, Maggie. You were always the strong one. Not me. I made money. You made a home. I built a company. You built a family. And when our son needed someone to fight for him, I wasn't there. But you were. You've always been there. I'm writing this because I need you to know something. The money, the company, the revenge, none of that matters. What matters is Leo. What matters is the life you're going to give him. What matters is the love you pour into that boy, the same way you poured it into Danny and into me. You asked me once, years ago, what I wanted my legacy to be. I said something stupid about building things that lasted. I was wrong. My legacy isn't a company. My legacy is you. The woman who never quits. The woman who loves harder than anyone I've ever known. So take the money and do good with it. Take the company and make it ethical. Take Leo and raise him to be like Danny, kind and honest and true. And if you ever miss me, just look up at the sky. I'm the cloud that looks like it's laughing. I'm the breeze that messes up your hair. I'm right there, always. I love you, Maggie. I'll love you forever. Earl. I read the letter 3 times. By the end, tears were streaming down my face. But they weren't sad tears. They were grateful ones. Earl had left me more than a company. He'd left me his faith. His trust. His belief that I was strong enough to carry everything he'd built. You old fool, I whispered. You could have just told me. But I knew why he hadn't. He'd wanted me to discover it on my own. To rise to the occasion without his hand guiding me. He'd known that if he handed me the weapon, I'd hesitate. But if I found it myself? Nothing would stop me. He was right. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it back into the lockbox. Then I turned off the light and went to sleep. 3 weeks later, I accepted the position of chairwoman of the board at what was now called Crawford Ethical Development. I insisted on the name change. No more Sterling. No trace of Victor anywhere. Veronica trained me for 2 months before she moved to Boston. The first few weeks were overwhelming. Board meetings with men in suits who talked too fast and used words I'd never heard. Financial reports that looked like alphabet soup. Decisions that affected thousands of employees. But I learned. I asked questions until people got tired of answering. I brought Leo to meetings and let him sit in the corner with a coloring book, just like Veronica had suggested. And slowly, the company started to feel like something I understood. The foundation grew even faster. We expanded to 3 states. Hired a full-time staff. Partnered with law firms that did pro bono work for families fighting predatory developers. Every time I thought about slowing down, another letter would arrive. Another family. Another story. And I'd remember why I started. 1 year after Victor's conviction, I attended a memorial service for the 3 men who died in the crane collapse. Maria Vasquez spoke. The elderly couple whose son was killed spoke. I spoke too. I didn't know them, I said, standing at a podium in front of dozens of grieving families. I only knew Danny. But I've learned something this year. When you lose someone to greed, you don't just lose a person. You lose a piece of your future. Every birthday they'll miss. Every graduation. Every wedding. Victor Sterling stole those futures. But he didn't steal our ability to remember. He didn't steal our ability to love. And he sure as hell didn't steal our ability to fight. I pointed to the new playground being built across the street. The one the foundation had funded. The one named after Danny. That playground is just the start. We're going to build parks and schools and community centers. We're going to put the children of the workers Victor exploited through college. We're going to make sure that every family here knows that their loved ones did not die for nothing. The crowd applauded. Maria hugged me. Leo stood off to the side with Frank, watching with wide eyes. Later, in the car, Leo asked, "Grandma, why do you always talk about fighting?" I thought about it. Because life is a fight, sweetheart. From the day you're born to the day you die. The question isn't whether you'll fight. The question is what you'll fight for. Some people fight for money. Some fight for power. I fight for you. For our family. For people who can't fight for themselves. That makes sense. He paused. Grandma, when I grow up, can I fight too? You can do anything you set your mind to. But I hope you won't have to fight the way I did. I hope the world is kinder to you. What if it isn't? Then you'll be ready. Because you've already survived things that would break most adults. You're a Crawford. We don't break. He smiled. Crawfords don't break. That's right. 2 years passed. Leo turned 11. He grew 6 inches and started middle school. He joined the basketball team and the chess club and developed an obsession with dinosaurs that showed no signs of fading. His bedroom was a museum of plastic T-Rexes and fossil replicas. The foundation had helped over 200 families by then. The company was profitable and ethical and boring in all the right ways. No scandals. No lawsuits. Just good, honest work. Veronica got married in Boston. I flew out for the wedding. She looked radiant. David the history professor cried during his vows. I caught the bouquet by accident, which made everyone laugh. Your turn next, Veronica teased. I'm 65 years old. I think my romance days are behind me. You never know. Frank was there too. He'd become more than a lawyer. He was family. He came to every birthday party, every school play, every holiday dinner. Leo called him Uncle Frank and convinced him to play video games, which Frank was terrible at but gamely attempted anyway. One night, after dinner, Frank and I sat on the back porch while Leo did homework inside. You ever think about what's next? He asked. Next? You've built the foundation. You're running the company. You've raised Leo into a fine young man. What's your next act? I sipped my tea. I don't know. Maybe I'll retire for real this time. Let someone else do the fighting. You'd be bored in a week. Probably. I smiled. But it might be nice to be bored for a little while. Just a little. Frank nodded. You've earned it. Have I? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm still that woman in the kitchen, holding a DNA report, wondering how her life fell apart. That woman is gone, Maggie. You're someone else now. Am I? You're the woman who won. The woman who didn't just survive, she rebuilt. You turned the worst thing that ever happened to you into something that helps people every single day. That's not the same woman who stood in that kitchen. I thought about it. He was right. I wasn't the same person. The old Maggie had been naive. Trusting. She'd believed in the goodness of people and the fairness of the world. The new Maggie knew better. The world wasn't fair. People weren't always good. But that didn't mean you gave up. It meant you fought harder. Thank you, Frank. For what? For being there. From the first phone call. I couldn't have done any of this without you. He looked embarrassed. Just doing my job. No. You did a lot more than your job. You believed in me when I wasn't sure I believed in myself. That's not something you can bill for. He didn't say anything. But he reached over and squeezed my hand. And that was enough. The third anniversary of Victor's conviction came and went. I didn't mark it. Didn't even realize it had passed until Leo mentioned it at dinner. Grandma, did you know it's been 3 years since the bad guy went to jail? I put down my fork. Has it really? That's what the calendar says. Huh. I thought about Victor. Somewhere in a federal penitentiary, rotting away. I hadn't thought about him in months. That felt like a victory in itself. Are you going to visit him? Why would I do that? To gloat. I laughed. Where did you learn that word? School. A kid said it means showing off when you win. I know what it means. I'm just surprised you do. I shook my head. No, I'm not going to visit him. Gloating means you're still thinking about the person who hurt you. I'm done thinking about Victor Sterling. Are you done thinking about Mom too? The question caught me off guard. Leo rarely mentioned Brittany. He'd visited her twice in prison, both times at her request. Both times he'd come back quiet and withdrawn. After the second visit, he'd said he didn't want to go anymore. I hadn't pushed. I think about her sometimes, I said carefully. I think about how different things could have been if she'd made better choices. But mostly, I just feel sad for her. Sad? She had a family who loved her. She had you. And she threw it all away for money and a man who never really cared about her. That's a sad way to live. Leo nodded slowly. I don't hate her. That's okay. You don't have to hate her. But I don't love her either. Not like I love you. I reached across the table and took his hand. You know what I've learned, Leo? Love isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. Who stays. Who fights for you when things get hard. Your mother gave birth to you. But I raised you. And no piece of paper can change that. I know. He squeezed my hand back. You're my real mom, Grandma. Even if I don't call you that. I couldn't speak for a moment. When I did, my voice was thick. Thank you, sweetheart. For what? For being the best thing that ever happened to me. He grinned. Even better than pancakes? Way better than pancakes. That's a lot. I know. The fourth year brought changes. Leo started high school. He joined the debate team and discovered a talent for arguing that his teachers found both impressive and exhausting. I stepped down as chairwoman of the board and handed the reins to a young woman I'd been mentoring. She was smart, ethical, and tough as nails. She reminded me of myself at her age, except with better shoes. The foundation kept growing. We'd helped nearly 500 families by then. Scholarships. Medical bills. Legal aid. Housing assistance. Every case was different, but the gratitude was always the same. Letters and photos and hand-drawn cards from children who didn't fully understand what we'd done but knew it had made their parents cry happy tears. I was 67 now. Grayer. Slower in the mornings. But still standing. One afternoon, I got a call from the prison. Brittany wanted to see me. She was up for parole in 6 months, and she wanted to talk. I almost said no. But something made me say yes. The visiting room was exactly as depressing as I remembered. Gray walls. Fluorescent lights. The smell of industrial cleaner. Brittany shuffled in wearing a prison uniform, her hair streaked with gray, lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. Maggie. She sat down across from me. Thank you for coming. You asked. I came. I know you don't owe me anything. I know I ruined everything. But I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For all of it. For Danny. For Leo. For the way I treated you. I studied her. She looked broken. Genuinely broken. Not the theatrical remorse she'd shown at her trial. Something deeper. Something real. I don't know if I believe you, I said. I don't blame you. I wouldn't believe me either. She wiped her eyes. Therapy helps. Turns out when you spend 6 years in prison, you have a lot of time to think about your choices. I was awful. I was greedy and selfish, and I destroyed the only family that ever loved me. You did. I know Leo doesn't want to see me. I accept that. But I wanted you to know, I'm glad he has you. I'm glad he's safe and happy. That's all I care about now. You should have cared about that 10 years ago. I know. She looked down at her hands. I know. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then I stood up. Good luck with your parole hearing, Brittany. I hope you get it. I hope you get out and build a life. A real one. But stay away from Leo. He's happy now. He's whole. Don't mess that up. I won't. I promise. I walked out of the prison and didn't look back. Frank was waiting in the car. How'd it go? Better than expected. I fastened my seatbelt. She's different. Prison changed her. You believe her apology? I think she means it. But it doesn't matter. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. Frank nodded and started the engine. Where to? Home. Leo's debate team is competing tonight. I promised I'd be there. Front row? Always. That night, I watched my grandson argue about climate change policy with a confidence that made my heart swell. He was 15 now. Tall and lanky, with Danny's eyes and a sharp wit that was all his own. When he won the round, he looked into the audience and found my face. And he smiled. I smiled back. After the debate, we went for ice cream. Our tradition. Grandma, do you ever regret it? Regret what? Everything. Going after Victor. Taking down the company. All of it. I thought about it. No. I don't regret a single thing. I wish I hadn't had to do it. I wish your father was still alive and none of this had ever happened. But given the choice between doing what I did and letting Victor win, I'd do it all over again. Why? Because sometimes the right thing is the hard thing. And because you're worth fighting for. He ate his ice cream in silence for a moment. Then he said, I want to be a lawyer. A lawyer? Like Frank. I want to help people who can't help themselves. I want to fight the bad guys. I felt tears prick my eyes. You'd be a great lawyer. You think so? I know so. You've been arguing with me since you were 4 years old. Might as well get paid for it. He laughed. I'm serious, Grandma. So am I. I reached across the table and took his hand. Your father would be so proud of you. And so am I. Every single day. Even when I burn the pancakes? Especially when you burn the pancakes. Those are the best ones. He grinned, and for a moment he looked exactly like Danny. The same crooked smile. The same light in his eyes. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, kiddo. More than you'll ever know. We finished our ice cream and drove home. The stars were out. The air was warm. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked and a child laughed. Life. Ordinary, beautiful life. I thought about Earl. About Danny. About the long road that had brought me here. The pain and the rage and the fight and the victory. It was all part of the story now. A story that had started with a letter and a betrayal and ended with a boy and his grandmother, eating ice cream under the stars. Not a bad ending. Not bad at all.